During a town hall with Donald Trump, Sean Hannity brought up the, I think, fairly bombshell reporting from earlier this week that Donald Trump was apparently caught on tape in the middle of 2021, admitting that the documents that he had in his possession at that point were classified, that he couldn't declassify them, that he hadn't declassified them. Really hurts his legal defense. Here's how Donald Trump responded to that question.
There's the special counsel that's appointed, and news broke yesterday that there might be a tape recording that, quote, where you acknowledge that you understood that these were classified documents. First of all, do you know who this call may be with? Do you know anything about it?
No, I don't know anything about it. All I know is this: everything I did was right. We have the Presidential Records Act, which I abided by 100%.
Everything I did was right. Well, no more questions, sir. Let's move on to the next topic. No, there actually, I think, should be some follow-up questions. Unfortunately, that was Sean Hannity, not a journalist, not a serious person. He basically just let Donald Trump rant against Joe Biden, against China in a really weird way. Here's a bit more of that.
Biden has 1,850 boxes with a lot of classified stuff that he's not supposed to have. In his case, I have the right to declassify as president. He's got 1,850 boxes that he doesn't want anyone to see. He had 7 or 8 boxes in Chinatown in Washington, D.C., where nobody even speaks English in Chinatown. Chinatown is it's in favor of China. And he has boxes in Chinatown. They took those boxes and they sent them to Boston to his lawyer, so his lawyer could look through them and probably do things that you're not supposed to do. No, this is about election interference.
You know, I actually live in Chinatown here in Washington.
Yeah, maybe he had a point.
I don't think I've ever seen someone speak Chinese here ever.
Have you ever seen anyone walking around Chinatown like with 1,000 boxes? He sent those boxes to Boston, what, on 1,000 trains? Does he have any idea how many boxes that would be? That would be aircraft carriers of boxes. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And even according to his logic, Biden is president, he can have all of that stuff if he wants to, according to Donald Trump. That does not answer the question about the tape. He refused to be specific about whether that tape existed, whether he'd said that sort of thing. Did he have any documents about Iran? We now have some updates that we'll get to about that, but what did you make of his attempted defense?
Well, what do you mean, John? He did say, he said, everything I did was right. Okay, well that settles it then, isn't it? That's an easy one, okay. Now look, of course the problem with Donald Trump is Donald Trump's fans and voters, because they believe everything he says. I mean, he took a ton of documents, Trump did, right? And in one of the batches, he sent 15 boxes back. And that was like, holy cow, he took 15 boxes of documents, right? And then they found another batch, and that was considered gigantic. 1,850 boxes. And then he has another part where he has a story about how he hid all of it under his Mustang or something that Biden did, and there's grease stains on it. He makes up incredible facts that are not remotely true. But it sounds specific, like, oh, this got the grease stains, that must be true. It's a detail, right? Oh, he has an exact number, 1,850, right? Okay, then it must be true. Just pull right, you know, like, wait, hold on, I got one. I meant 1,849, because I'm pulling stuff out of what a difference does it make, right? So the guy's an obvious, gigantic liar. And 30% of the country is here for it. They're like, yes! Yes, I love those lies. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, now look, our side believes in other lies. Let's keep it real. Like, money in politics doesn't affect Democrats. People really believe that, and that's crazier than anything on Fox News. Anyway, but then gratuitously, because he's like a deep racist. Right wing, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, are you okay? I know him being racist is not a problem. Me calling him racist, they'll melt all over the floor, like crying, right? The guy said nobody in Chinatown speaks English. And that Chinatown, generically, by the way, which Chinatown? The one in San Francisco, the one in DC, the one in Boston, the one in New York? Which Chinatown? Apparently they're all guilty, and he said they're in favor of China. They're American citizens. They're American citizens. Accusing them of being in favor of China is insane. It's deeply, ridiculously racist against Asians. But it's not even noted anymore. Like, forget the right wing, the mainstream media, like, I haven't seen a single headline about that. We just, oh yeah, of course, Trump's racist. And that guy's right now is leading in the race to win, to be president again. And for the Republicans, they're like, being racist against Asians. I don't know any Asians. That's totally cool. I'm good with it, right? But then one last hilarious part of this that ties both of those together. They took him to Chinatown, and they don't speak any English in Chinatown. Nobody speaks English in Chinatown. Good, then they won't be able to read the documents. Problem solved. Yet no one in the audience noticed that. Not one person. All right, Ken.
I'll say this. Whenever I talk to my public defender friend about these kinds of segments, she's always just cringing, saying, oh my God, his poor lawyers. Can you imagine them watching him go on these nationally televised things and discuss something that could be like a very serious, not just felony, but series of felonies. And he's just holding forth on it. If you guys remember a few weeks ago when Hannity first interviewed him about the subject, Hannity was trying to offer him a line out. He said, the Democrats are claiming that you stole these documents. You would never do that. And Trump responds, he says, I would do that. And I would be right to do that. That was his first response to all of this. So I don't know what his legal strategy is here.
God, it's challenge mode is his legal strategy. I think he's going for points at this point. Okay, let's get to the update though. Donald Trump on that tape that CNN revealed earlier this week apparently talks about these documents that have to do with national security, about Iran, some sort of plan to attack Iran. And so a lot of people have been wondering, so did they get those documents back? Like the ones that he's talking about? Apparently, as far as we know now, they did not, and nobody appears to know where they actually were. Trump's legal team told the DOJ that it was unable to find any such records in his possession. It's unclear whether prosecutors have been able to track down the documents themselves, leaving open the possibility that the material remains at large, or that the famously blustery Trump incorrectly described it on the recording. In his defense, to describe it accurately, you would have needed to read it or be able to read it. So it's possible that he got something wrong about the documents, but they had to do with General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Iran, maps, invasion plans. It seems like the sort of thing that you would not want him to have. And I will remind you, under the Espionage Act, he could not have that when he was no longer president, whether it was classified or declassified. It doesn't matter at all. We do know that in a batch of documents returned in January 2022 that went to the National Archives, there was one document concerning military options for Iran, according to one of the people familiar with the matter, but it remained unclear whether that document was the same one that Trump had mentioned in the recording. We don't know that it was. All that we know from that little factoid is that up until the beginning of last year, he had other incredibly sensitive documents that had to do with national security that he did actually give. And what would have to be in other documents that he would give those ones back, but even then want to hold on to the other ones?
So there's 3 layers of this, right? They say, hey, we realize you have a lot of documents, give them back. And he's like, no. And then they're like, no, seriously, give him back, you idiot. And so he gives back $15. He's like, that's all there is. And he makes his schmuck lawyer sign a piece of paper that's gonna get him in a ton of legal trouble, saying there's no more documents. And the government goes, this guy's an idiot and a liar. Of course he's got more documents. They raid Mar-a-Lago and they find tons of other documents, okay? Because Trump is a pathological liar. And so, and potentially dangerous. They get all those documents, and now they've discovered there are other documents he still hasn't given over. That was in a previous story that they leaked, and if this might be or might not be one of those ones that he still hasn't given back. Remember, this one wasn't at Mar-a-Lago. He was having this conversation at Bedminster in New Jersey. So I don't know where else he stuffed the documents, and why would you want documents about our plans on invasion of Iran? Well, those would be pretty valuable, right? That would be among the most valuable plans that we had, top secret plans on how to attack another country. My God, that country would pay a lot of money to get their hands on that. But Donald Trump caring about money, we all talk about it like, oh no, that's a bridge too far. Like that's the appearance I have from corporate media, like both mainstream media and right-wing like media. They don't even talk about it like, oh no. Like as if he has boundaries. He doesn't have any boundaries. Go ahead, Ken.
His relationship with the Saudis. Do you think they'd be interested in this? I mean, an actual business relationship that he's getting money from the Live Golf Tournament, owned not just by the Saudis, but by the Saudi government, the Public Investment Fund, their sovereign wealth fund. Do you think they'd be interested in war plans with regard to their worst enemy in the region? Yeah, I think probably so. So there's all kinds of red flags around here that, and the Saudi point, that's another thing they don't like to talk about in media here in Washington, because they're financing so many of these think tanks and they're throwing so much money around that it's another, like, I think, aspect to, they will talk about Russia because it's obviously, a terrible authoritarian regime that happens to be an enemy of ours, but they won't talk about the putative allies that do things that go against our interests all the time.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, great point about the Live Golf Tournament. Saudis directly putting a giant amount of cash in Donald Trump's pocket. Not only that, his son-in-law got a $2 billion deal from the Saudis. Right after the Saudi
government themselves raised interest. Their own bureaucrats said this is a crazy investment. Why are we doing this? This is not likely to yield returns. And so the answer to that question is we're probably doing it as a favor. I mean, it's just extraordinary.
Look, okay, we've given you all the facts. My opinion is that I would be shocked if he didn't try to sell those documents. Shocked. Why the hell else take them? Okay, your best answer is, oh, he's such a moron. He just wanted to show off to his golfing buddies. If that makes you feel better, okay.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.